here we see a wild Pikmin in its natural environment. These strange creatures become attached to whoever pulls them from the ground, loyal and obedient. Pikmin work together to fight large predators like this grub dog, even if it means getting eaten. As night falls, the Pikmin return to their nest to rest for another day of hard work. Hang in there, little guys. Pikmin. Only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
I would have been, I want to say, 6, maybe 7 years old when that first saw that commercial. Anyway, good evening, guys. Hope you guys had a good work week. Mine was definitely a mixed bag. There was some frustration at work on Thursday, and then Friday I started to come down with something. Woke up this morning not feeling well, and basically spent the day fighting whatever I caught, so it hasn't been very pleasant. That's also why you don't see my ugly mug up there today. So next week, hopefully I'll be feeling better, and you guys can actually see my reactions to the stuff. But anyway, Pikmin. This game was released in 2001 for the GameCube, and the general story I hear regarding the origin of Pikmin is that it came from a tech demo Nintendo showed off at Space World 2000 called Mario 128, which is what you're seeing right here. It basically was just a bunch of Marios, interacting with the environment, and the purpose of it was to show that the GameCube could render multiple different character models and affect the environment in dynamic ways. So that's the story I always heard. People always said that's where the idea for Pikmin came from, but in doing some research, I found that Pikmin was actually in development long before Mario 128. In fact, it was one of the first GameCube games ever to enter development. It was originally called Adam and Eve and was about raising a village and creating new NPCs. And over time, the project just evolved into what we know as Pikmin. The game would release, and though it came out within the window of Super Smash Bros. Melee, which was the best-selling GameCube game at the time, the game actually did do fairly well. It wasn't a huge seller, but it sold well enough and was a big hit with critics. And in addition to that, the series has always been something Miyamoto is fond of, so even though the series has never posted particularly strong numbers, there's always been a devoted following for it, and with Miyamoto's backing, new games have always been able to come out. And the most recent game, Pikmin 4, released this weekend, which I wasn't able to pre-order in time, so I had to wait on it. I just got an email saying that it was delivered, so once I'm done with this stream, I'm going to go play that. But anyway, we're going to get started. As for how I am going to be playing this game, they're going to be checking out the new Switch version of the game. Now, there are 3 versions of the game. You got the GameCube original, which I actually have played, and it is a perfectly fine game. It has held up beautifully. So if you must play it on hardware, I wouldn't object to that, especially considering it's one of the GameCube games that hasn't risen to stupidly high prices. My preferred version of the game is actually the Wii version, which sounds crazy, but the pointer controls just work so well for Pikmin, and one of the big issues I have with Pikmin 1 are the controls. So that's the version I recommend most. But if I had to, direct someone to a version of the game to get, I would direct them to the Nintendo Switch version, because it beefs things up to widescreen, it's widely available, and at $30 a prop, it's the cheapest version of the game available right now. So if you haven't played any of its games and you want to give them a try, the Switch version is the one to get. Alright, before we get started, quick sound check. And at $30... Here we go. Alright. Alright, so kicking things right off with a beautiful title screen. The Pikmin logo is just fantastic, and the way it's rendered with the flowers is just a neat touch. If you know a thing about the Pikmin, you know that they do sprout flowers at some point. So you could just be Pikmin making that logo there. It also really speaks to the nature theme of the game. I've already played this to completion, so I'm gonna go ahead and start a new save file. I love that the menus too, they're just fantastic. I apologize for the coughing, guys. I'm just feeling terrible right now. Yeah, the most important rule of driving, always be sure you pay attention to where you're going. Always be sure you pay attention to where you're going. In pet sight. Oh, that's not good. My name is Captain Olimar. While traveling through space, my ship was struck by a meteor. I must have blacked out, and I awoke on the surface of a weird planet. With so many parts lost, the skeletal hull of my beloved dolphin is a painful sight to the engine is gone. I'm stranded. That's an interesting reference right there. The ship is called the Dolphin, which was actually the working title for the GameCube. To make matters worse, my atmospheric sensors indicate that the planet's environment contains high levels of poisonous oxygen. My life support systems can only function for only 30 days. If I can't repair the Dolphin by then, no, I better not think about it. I must find the missing parts. Well, I thought this was going to be a very cute and pleasant game, but that's kind of a dire situation, I'd say. Anyway, so what we're going to start with, of course, are the controls. So, movement feels alright. Olimar is quick to change directions. Feels really good. But you can't really do a whole lot at first. So, not sure what's going on here. Not sure what that whistle does. Now, I'm acting like I don't know what any of that does, but I actually do know. I have played this relatively recently, so just more or less doing it for the camera. I need to zoom the camera out, speaking of which. It's really close to the action. Okay, bots can't go that way. Oh, what do we have here? A strange thing has appeared before me. I had barely begun my search when it reared up as if it were waiting for me. It then dropped a single seed. What is it? Is it alive? Is it a machine? It resembles a vegetable on my home planet that we call an onion. I shall call this an onion too. Yeah, because that's exactly what it looks like. Actually, now looking at it, it does kind of look like an onion, doesn't it? The seed of that onion drop took the root in the soil and has now produced an adorable little sprout. This sprout emits a strange light, and it sways back and forth without benefit of the wind. I cannot help but think it's calling to me. I am compelled. I must approach and press A. I just love the design of the Pikmin. Like, obviously it's just a really cute design in general, but like it also isn't imposing in the slightest. Like, the Pikmin are supposed to be very friendly, and the fact that just one of them doesn't seem so threatening just speaks to the design behind it. And like Pikmin's strength isn't really in itself, but rather their numbers. So really smart design there. Extraordinary. When I plucked the sprout, it turned out to be a living creature, not a plant. Picking it has done no visible damage, and it just stands there staring at me. Its shape is similar to a Pick brand carrots I love so much. I believe I shall call it a Pikmin. I wonder how they came up with that name in development. Here I am, stranded on a toxic planet, fighting to survive, yet I am intrigued. I must research this fascinating creature. I shall try to grab it and throw it, and I will call it to my side. Perhaps it will react pressing X and moving while holding L as well. Following controls appear to allow me several viewpoints. Just talking about the controls here. I must survive. I need to familiarize myself with these controls and surrounding. That's better. Alright, so now the controls probably make a little more sense. You can throw your Pikmin, which is also what the handy dandy cursor is for there. Astonishing. The onion has sown more seeds. The small red Pikmin from the Pikmin harvested after cutting down the red flower appears to be some type of food that can more Pikmin. The onion seems to be a sort of incubator. Needless to say, I must study this strange life form. Yeah, that's one of the things I really love about Pikmin. That's Olimar's characterization. Despite the fact that he's in such a dire situation, the fact that he can't help but be fascinated by the flora and fauna of the planet just creates this really compelling character. I also really love his design. I like how he's slightly bigger than the Pikmin, but his stubby arms kind of give the sense that he can't do a lot on his own. But his spacesuit and big head sort of signify a greater sense of intelligence. It is kind of annoying. You have to wait for them to sprout before you can just pluck them. Pikmin are just so cute. Ah, here we go. That counter is really handy. So that's the minimum you need to move it, but you can actually put more Pikmin on it, and in doing so, they'll actually move it faster. More hands makes faster work, they say, after all. That is one of the drawbacks with the original Pikmin, though, or really Pikmin in general. There can be a lot of waiting for stuff to happen. You know, just putting your Pikmin on a task and just waiting for them to complete it. So, some people might find it boring, but no, playing it I never really had that problem. There's just something amusing about watching a Pikmin work, I'd say. So in the Wii version, the pointer actually controls your aim reticle there, which makes it really easy to deploy your Pikmin. With this, I mean, it's doable, but being able to move to one side while keeping your cursor on the other side, that just makes the game so much easier. Not being able to strafe in the first Pikmin is kind of a bother. As for the presentation in general, it always impressed me how well these GameCube games have held up over the years. while there are some flat and muddy textures here and there, the art design on display is, in general, really good. And as I said, the art direction is just great. The design of the Pikmin and all the different creatures you come across. It's really... You can tell this was made by the A-Team at Nintendo. Pikmin are as curious as children. They form groups to perform tasks that would be impossible for an individual. Glimmer of hope has begun to shine in my heart. If I can make use of their skills, perhaps I can fix my ship. I shall sum all up I've learned in the Pikmin conduct. Yeah, I know how to play this. It is important to have this tutorial though for people who have never played a game like this, because Pikmin is certainly a weird beast. It's often cited as a RTS, a real-time strategy game, which is it's a genre that you don't find on consoles a whole lot because, you know, RTS just works better with the mouse and keyboard than it does with the control. So they were sort of entering new territory with Pikmin, so in-depth tutorial like this was necessary. Amazing, there's no mistake in it. My ship's engine rests before my very eyes. By a stroke of pure luck, I have already stumbled upon the most important piece of my damaged craft. Fate has smiled upon me, but how will I get it back to the dolphin? How do you think, dude? Oh, well, I guess I don't have enough Pikmin yet, so I gotta get some more going. So we'll look around a bit more. And as you saw, some of the Pikmin fell overboard, which isn't an uncommon occurrence in this game. Though the Pikmin are generally pretty good at pathfinding, they do have a tendency to act a bit brain dead, and if you notice, they don't do a very good job keeping up with me either. As the game goes on, if the Pikmin live long enough, they'll actually bloom flowers, and when they do, they'll be able to more easily keep up with Olimar. But until then, you just kind of have to make do. Not a very fast-paced game anyway, so I don't mind taking my time. Though, time isn't really on your side in Pikmin, and we'll get to that later. Yeah, another thing people often complain about with Pikmin is having to pluck all the Pikmin. It can be tedious, even though you can hold the button and Olimar will do it automatically. But in pre-alpha footage I've seen, you can actually pluck the Pikmin by just doing your whistle right there, which was something they decided to cut for whatever reason. In Pikmin 2, I think they brought that ability back, though why it's not standard I don't really know. When many Pikmin seeds sprout at once, I find it rather tedious to pluck them from the ground individually. My wife always told me I was no good at routine tasks. I guess I'll try to get it all done at once by holding A until I pick all the Pikmin from the ground. I've noticed that when I add a Pikmin to my group, they become filled with bright excitement and flush with bright color. And other times they revert to a paler hue and giving off a dim glow. Paying close attention to these differences is bound to help me distinguish between Pikmin. Yeah, you may have noticed that if a Pikmin isn't part of your party per se, they'll appear a duller color. Like, let's see, you see how their color changes there? Just a nice indication of you know, which Pikmin are actually following you at the time. Oh, I got 23 now, so we should be able to move this motor now. Man, I hate being sick. Man, I hate being sick. Now we got our first component. Oh, glorious. Why is it when I read that I thought of Starfire? Anyway, with the help of these Pikmin, I've taken a huge step back towards home. My ship can once again lift off. The glimmer of hope is beginning to burn more brightly, but what has become of the remaining parts? That search starts tomorrow. One day since then, Pat, I have somehow managed to launch the Dolphin, but I was surprised to see the Onion lift off with me. Perhaps the Pikmin cannot survive overnight on the planet's surface. Or have they merely decided to join me for another reason? Either way, it seems they will help me again tomorrow. Now this is another part of Pikmin that I really like. These logs at the end of the day that Olimar gives are just a beautiful way to get some character across without it being intrusive. And you get a nice sense of who Olimar is as a person, his intelligence, his scientific fascination, and towards the end of the game, him just talking about being able to see his son again, or the fact that he might not see his family again. It just creates a nice, deep character. It's the kind of thing I wish they would do for a Metroid game. Always thought that would have been a good way to get some character across for Samus. But even when Retro Studios had chances to do that with the Metroid Prime series, they never did. The Dolphin is missing 20 of my parts. If I can't recover them, I may never return home to my family on planet Hakatate. Analysis shows life support systems will function for only 29 more days. How can I repair my Dolphin in such a short time? A dense forest is visible on the surface below. As it holds the key to my survival, I'll name this the Forest of Hope. I'll explore tomorrow. Alright. Okay, so some important things to get into before we move on to the next day. So this is where Pikmin as a game really begins. The first day, as it's called, you don't have a time limit or anything, so you're able to get up to speed with the controls and the mechanics. But once you move on to the second day, you are on the time limit. So you have 29 days to collect 29 pieces of the ship. Now that doesn't sound like a bad deal, but these aren't real life days, and even if they were, you would only have half the amount of time you would because Olimar has to lift off when night falls because the planet is so dangerous. A day in Pikmin only really amounts to 13 minutes or so, so time management, multitasking, exploring, those are all important parts of the game. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna get a swig of water first because my throat is killing me. My big ass Bubba keg. Thank you, Grandma Hall. The Forest of Hope. The general atmosphere here is fantastic as well. I've always described Pikmin as Yoshi's Island if it was a space opera. It's got that same childlike appeal that Yoshi's Island has, but there's also a nice sci-fi vibe to it as well. My Dolphin has returned to the surface along with the Pikmin's Onion. Being alone on this strange planet makes me somewhat uneasy, so I shall call the Pikmin out of the Onion. All I need to do is stand in the light beneath the Onion and press A. I love how they slide out the legs. It's really cute. Alright, so as I said, we are on the clock. But you still do want to take the time to grind for Pikmin. Because the more Pikmin you have, the more you can get done. And if all your Pikmin die as you're playing the game, the day ends automatically. And the next day, you'll only start with 1 Pikmin per onion, so you'd have to build up your Pikmin reserves again, which can be very time-consuming. You really don't want to be put in a spot like that in this game, let me tell you. So while they're working on that, pluck the Pikmin. You also... So I'd say the main area where Pikmin differs from other RTS games is, like, with most real-time strategy games, you're sort of commanding your troops from afar. You're not really on the battlefield with them, but in Pikmin you are. So in addition to commanding your troops and making sure they don't die, you gotta make sure you yourself don't pass either. If Olimar takes too much damage and falls in battle, he'll have to spend a day recovering, which is, again, something that can put you in a bad spot. Anyway, now we get into some enemies here. Grub dogs, I think they're called. Not terribly hard to deal with. You can just throw a Pikmin on them and they'll take care of it. If, and of course, there is incentive to taking down enemies as well, because their corpses can be taken to the onion and can be used to sprout more Pikmin, so taking out enemies and taking the carcasses to the onion is advised. The sounds the Pikmin make are just adorable too. It's funny for such a cute game. This can actually be a pretty freaky game at times. The situation really is kind of concerning. Alright, I'll put the rest of my Pikmin to work on this. See how many are sprouting now? Even today, it really is impressive how many Karamals can be on screen at one time. I also love Olimar's run cycle. It almost looks like he's skipping to some degree. Alright, men, let's move out. I think they'll be fine there. And I see a part, so I'm going to go ahead and get that. And you have sound cues that let you know when Pikmin have completed a certain task. I'm sure you guys have heard the drums in there. Why, it's the Eternal Feud Dynamo. It has the unlimited energy supply. I won't have to worry about saving electricity anymore. This will make my flights and survival a bit easier. Alright, so I'll just swarm my Pikmin on it. Fortunately, I do not have enough right now. So for now, I'll just keep grinding for Pikmin. Check out how those Pikmin are doing. Head back to the site. There's a lot back and forth, but necessary evil, I would say. This is a very exploration-heavy game, so you are going to be backtracking over a lot of the same ground. And that is another one of the issues with Pikmin, I would say. There isn't a lot of variety in the locations. I mean, certain locations do have their own characteristics, but it's not like, say, Metroid Prime or something like that. And especially not the same kind of variety you'd see in a Mario game. Looks like my boys are done over here. Okay, let's see if I can get them over this bridge without any of them falling into the water. You gotta be careful with the Pikmin around water because they can't swim, and if they fall in the water, they'll start to drown. And like I said, the Pikmin can be just slightly brain dead at times. Anyway, I should have enough to get that part now, so... See, I know one of them wants to go into the water there. My clock has indicated coming at noon. From now on, I must pay close attention to the sun meter on the monitor and choose my actions accordingly, so it's best for me to review my monitor's data. Across the top of my monitor are the sun meter in today's display, and at the bottom is my spacesuit damage. It's just more stuff you need to play the game. Alright, let's go get this piece. Charge! Alright, men, double time. Also for single time right now. So ideally you want to get at least one part per day, and if you get really good at the game, you can actually create a nice buffer of parts, so you can spend some days grinding for Pikmin. When I first played this game, I had I actually had 29 pieces, and I only needed one more, but I still had 5 days left, so it's definitely a doable task. It's also a nice sense of progression how you see all the parts we integrate into the Dolphin. This should light things up. No more candles for me. I have now recovered 2 of the 30 parts. If I can find 3 more, I should be able to increase my ship's capabilities. That means he can travel to new parts of the planet. If I can find 3 more, I should be able to increase my ship's capabilities. That means he can travel to new parts of the planet. Alright, so... Big hoss right here. You gotta be careful around the big grub dogs. The little guys aren't anything to worry about, but the bigger ones can make short work of your Pikmin if you aren't careful. So, recommended strategy for dealing with these guys is to sneak up behind them. You know, because the other end has teeth. there are a lot of different enemies in Pikmin, and knowing the strengths and weaknesses of each of them and how to use your Pikmin to fight them is a big part of the game. Plays into the strategy aspect of it. Alright guys, work on that wall for me. Like, watching me play this probably doesn't seem like the most entertaining of games, but like watching Pikmin and actually playing it is another story completely. Because the satisfaction you get dealing with all the challenges the game presents, it really is something. You really do feel like you're accomplishing something as you're performing all the different tasks here. It's part of the reason why I don't play these games start to finish, because again, I want to encourage people to actually play the games themselves rather than just, watch me play them. I get that there are people who want to consume video games in that respect, but I feel like you're missing something if you choose to do that. Games are designed to be played, not necessarily watched. Alright. Sneak it up on him. Go work, man. Take him back to the ship. And what we got here? We got another onion. And now we got a yellow Pikmin. The color is different, but it seems to be a Pikmin nonetheless. First glance suggests that this one has what, in some circles, could be considered very large ears. It looks like it may weigh less than the others. In what other ways might it be different from the red Pikmin? Must be sure to observe it closely and hold the Pikmin for a moment with A, then swap it for another by pressing R. Alright, so now we got our first different batch of Pikmin, the yellow ones. So the difference between the yellow versus the red is that the yellow Pikmin are lighter, so they can be thrown farther and higher than the red Pikmin, which makes them ideal for airborne enemies. They're also the only Pikmin in the game that can interact with exploding rocks, which you actually see over there in that tin can we passed earlier. Which is a feature I don't really like with the yellow Pikmin. I feel that's an ability all the Pikmin should have. Oh, I see what it's saying. So that's something else to consider. You can only have 100 Pikmin on the field at once, which I think was a technical limitation of the GameCube. And it probably is for the best if that's the case, because like I said, if all your Pikmin were to perish, then you would be in a bad spot. Okay, so the day's fixing to end, so I need to gather up my Pikmin. So, if your Pikmin aren't at the landing zone, or you don't have them following you, when the clock expires, they'll die off because they can't survive on the planet's surface at night. If they're still sprouts, though, they'll be fine. Alright, come on, little guy, let's get out of here. See how many I can pull before the clock expires. Managed to pull all of them, and I have all 100 of my Pikmin. You know, all those eyes staring at you, that actually can be a little creepy. Especially in the dark. Two days since impacts, it appears that many of my ship's parts have landed in this region. If I can just recover the parts of my radar, I should be able to use my radar screen. Now that would improve my chances. Then I'd only have to press the plus button to locate my parts, and yes, it is a big advantage when you find that part, because then you can actually plan what you want to do for the day. Yeah, there seem to be hostile life forms here. If I am attacked and my spaceship takes damage, I must return to my ship, stand in front of it, and press A to make suit repairs. As I explore, I must pay attention to my suit's damage at the bottom left screen. So I would call day 2 a very productive day. Got ship parts, really increase the population of Pikmin. Successful. Alright, let's pull out the Pikmin. Well, first I'm going to pull out the yellow Pikmin. Alright, gonna start grinding for Pikmin, of course. When you go to throw a Pikmin, if you hold the button and press the R button, you'll switch which Pikmin you throw, which is helpful. It's also important to note that if you get a color of the seed to the matching color of the onion, you'll get 2 sprouts instead of 1, so taking into account what seeds there are is something else you want to consider. Alright, let's see if I can get this one without the Pikmin doing something stupid. Yep, they'll come this way, that's good. Anyway, let's press on, man. I don't know what I've been told. I don't know what I've been told. Actually, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna complete that quote from Full Metal Jacket. There could be children watching this. Alright, so these are the bomb rocks I was talking about earlier. So you throw a yellow Pikmin at these. The yellow Pikmin had picked up a Kakiro stone. Why did they decide to grab it? This action seems to be instinctive to the yellow Pikmin. But just what are these strange glowing stones? Brightly glowing cracks cover them? Perhaps these cracks indicate what there's a tremendous amount of power locked within them. This merits further research. You really gotta be careful with these rocks though, because if you're careless with how you use them, then you could accidentally blow up your Pikmin, which you really don't want to do. It is actually heartbreaking to see your Pikmin meet their end. And if you have Pikmin Extinction, which is where all your Pikmin die, then Olimar's comments on it are just kind of haunting. It really messes him up. Okay, so I usually go one way or the other, so we'll go this way first. The glowing rods of the yellow Pikmin seem to be explosive stones. Perhaps they know these stones can be used as powerful weapons, when the bomb blocks are dangerous and must take care when using them. But they should be able to blast open stone walls that block the pathway. I may even be able to use them against wild creatures. I must be vigilant. When I throw a bomb rock carrying a Pikmin, it won't give them orders. They will toss their bomb rods to nearby walls and obstacles. The explosive power of the bomb rods is tremendous, and I must keep my distance. Basically what I was saying earlier about being careful how you use your weapons. Bullseye. Dude, there's something right there. Pick it up. Alright. Let's see if we can sneak up on these guys. Before we take that out, we're gonna deal with these other guys first. No! You leave my buddy alone. You little bugger. Alright guys, take him to the ship. In order to get that, I need the blue Pikmin, which are required because they can actually go in water, whereas the red Pikmin can't. Alright, so this could be convenient. I thought that would set off all of them, but I guess not. Didn't mean to do that. Again, it would be very convenient if the red Pikmin could do that too. I don't know why they decided to make that an exclusive move to the yellow Pikmin. And it looks like we got another part here, but I need yellow Pikmin in order to get that one. Charge! It's an ambush! Ah, got too close to that thing. Ah, I lost some Pikmin there. That's sad. It is genuinely sad when you lose Pikmin. Especially when you hear their last cry of death and, you know, see their ghosts fade away. Right, so I need to go get some yellow Pikmin and get that part there so I can complete something for the day. Hope I have enough yellow Pikmin. I should. Alright, I got my crew back together. So I'm gonna put away some of the Pikmin. How many yellow do I have over here? 14, so I'm gonna put away 14 red Pikmin. Very handy counter to tell you how many Pikmin are being moved. Though it is annoying that you actually have to wait for them to go back into the onion before you can pull more out instead of it being instantaneous. Sometimes you gotta make sure the Pikmin actually do what they should. Sometimes they'll just stand around and do nothing if you just walk away. Anyway, let's see if I can get this part here. Should be good. Oh, I could have just used red Pikmin. Ha! Wasted some time there, that's for sure. And what is going on there? It's my whimsical radar. With this, we'll be able to see all the nearby ship parts in a single glance. I just pressed plus and checked it, and I'll find what fills me in a great hope. This is something new I've never seen before. Like, what's going on there? It's really funny. Let's work on blowing up that wall there. Selecting your individual Pikmin feels really clunky though. In order to select which Pikmin you throw, you have to hold the throw button and then hit the R button. Why you can't just hit the R button and choose which Pikmin you want to throw that way, I don't know, but that's just how they decide to do it. There's another ship part. Would be nice if I could get that one, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time there. Windskull radar. It's an important part that can detect the locations of other missing parts. The radar will be added to my monitor, which I can press plus to view. I can scan with L or zoom in with R. This will surely help me in my search for the remaining parts. I have now recovered 3 of the 30 parts. If I can find 2 more, I should be able to increase my ship's capabilities. So let's see if it's actually working. So we got a part right there. So yeah, it's marked by stars there, so now I know where all my parts are, which definitely helps for long-term planning. I think that's the only time something like that happens in the game, though. Would be nice if, as you recover more parts, things would be a bit easier. Like there's one part later in the game, a cannon of sorts, that supposedly can blow through asteroids. Why not have that be able to use to blow up certain walls? Not what I meant to do. Looks like it's time to call it a day. Turn to base camp, men. Go ahead and put my Pikmin up for the day. And the game does a really good job telling you how many Pikmin are on a field and stuff like that, and with the scanner, you can keep track of where they are too. Not sure who you're whistling at there, Olimar. Yeah, if you leave some Pikmin there, you'll see the monsters there eat them up, which is really disturbing. I now add yellow Pikmin to my list of discoveries. These creatures can wield bomb rods, so perhaps I can use them to blast down rock walls and open up new regions. Red and yellow Pikmin, as well as the bomb rock characters, break into squads when dismissed with X. If I grab one for a moment and hold A, I can swap Pikmin using the R. So another successful day, I would say. 27 days, and I got 27 parts remaining. but I am actually gonna call it here. I've decided that some of my videos do go on a little bit long, and I'm finding that Pikmin isn't a terribly entertaining game to watch, I'm sure. But I think you guys got the general gist of it. Again, while Pikmin might not seem like the most entertaining of games to watch, it is a lot of fun to play. It's a fine combination of combat, exploration, strategy, and I would argue even survival horror to some degree. It's a very entertaining game, and I'm really excited to play Pikmin 4. We'll cover the other Pikmin games at a later date, but for now, I hope you guys enjoy watching me play Pikmin, and hope you give the games a shot, which, again, you can get Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2 on Switch for $60 together. You can also get Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and now you get Pikmin 4. It's a very rare instance where Nintendo has all games in one of their series on one console. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good work week. If you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe. I do these videos every week. Next week, in celebration of the release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, I thought we'd cover the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, you guys have a good night, and I'll catch you later.